Hello! Doctor Who is back on our screens again with his wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey, animated, giffy, tumblery-wumblery adventures. But that is not what we are here to discuss. Nope, we're not into New Who. We are going back before the reboot, back before Christopher Eccleston, to a time where every story took 1,000 episodes and you'd be hard-pressed to stay awake through the ones in the middle. Yes, we're talking classic Doctor Who, or more specifically, classic Doctor Who figures, as written in the title that my finger may be pointing at, depending how you've got your screen set up. Basically, the BBC, back in the late 80s, handed a company a licence to make action figures in the Star Wars scale, about 3¾ inches. Oddly, they gave it to Dapol, which was and I believe still is, a Welsh company that makes model railways and model railway parts, which was a slightly odd choice. And as a result, the figures are slightly interesting, one might say. They had the licence, I think, for about 13 years, and the BBC did not renew it. And then everybody died everywhere. But then the Doctor pressed a button and it was magic and everyone came back to life. Right, time to have a look at everybody's favourite Doctor, who isn't one of the new ones. Tom Baker. He's the one most people will pretty much think of when you talk about Doctor Who in Britain to this day. Tom Baker and his weird hair and his slightly unnerving smile captured quite badly in this figure. This is a very old and much played with figure. In fact, well, I say that, they went loose very quickly, so they're not the best made things. So it's got quite good river dance action. That was river dance music. Also missing a thumb, bless him, so hitchhiking will be very bad, unless he goes the other side. But yeah, he's not got his big coat on, he's not got his scarf, he's not got his hat, but he has got the expression we all want to see. And by all want to see, I mean nobody wants to see. Yeah, it doesn't really bear much resemblance to Tom Baker. It's got more of a sort of afro than his curly hair. And the face. Well, obviously it's had the paint taken off the tip of the nose, so we'll let them off on that. But yeah, it just looks like a fucking maniac, really, doesn't it? There's no other way to describe it. I don't know if any child would actually want that. I've discovered something interesting, though. Turn to the side. Just looks like somebody grinning in a slightly unconvincing manner. Turn to the other side. Serial killer. Marvellous. Well, the articulation is sort of better than the Star Wars figure, but sub-G.I. Joe. They've stuck in some quite nice waving around shoulder action. You've got your elbows, you've got your knees, you've got your leg move. It's all pretty standard. The most important thing is he can walk like this and look ridiculous. But yeah, that's Tom Baker, apparently. No, Tom Baker from Dapol, not Tom Baker from Baypol. That would be something else entirely. Off you go, Tom. Time to have a look at another Doctor. For instance, good old Jon Pertwee. Now, Jon Pertwee, well known in this country for playing another role, the classic living scarecrow Wurzel Gummidge, which is a fantastic name. And I must say, this likeness of him, does bear more resemblance to well, Wurzel Gummidge than actually his Doctor Who thing, but there we are. Yeah, he's a bit of a dandy, this character, quite poshly dressed, far more sort of action-oriented than the Doctors who came before. He would run around and do lots of Martian judo or something like that. I can't remember now, it's been many years since I've seen it. Also, all his adventures were based on Earth, pretty much. I think he was like banished here for some reason. Oh yeah, budgetary reasons, probably. Space is expensive. But yeah, he was the third Doctor, and his hair was made of ice cream, apparently. A very odd figure, this one. Well, you know, it's pretty standard, you would think, to look at it, apart from this slightly frightening face we've got going on, although much less frightening than Tom Baker. However, put them side by side and you'll discover he's oddly off-scale. He's like a literal giant. He must, I mean, Tom Baker, given here, what, just under 6 foot tall? He would be like 7 foot or something? I don't understand that. And he is indeed much taller than all the others. Let's bring on old Sylvester McCoy. Sylvester, he's even smaller. He makes him, this is crazy. He's like sort of Lenny of Mice and Men or something. I never really understood that. Anyway, Sylvester McCoy, he wore a hat. And here he is, with his eyebrows removed. Lots of quite good detailing on the question marks in his jumper, though. Sylvester McCoy was the Doctor I grew up with, remember, on television. When I was watching the old Who, he was the one. And he looked absolutely nothing like this, frankly. I'm trying to think what he's doing at the moment. He's playing Radagast in those bloody awful Hobbit films that are going on at the moment. Interesting fact, The Hobbit, the first one, what was it called? Can't remember the subtitle. That's the only film I've ever fallen asleep at the cinema watching. There's an exciting fact for you. Anyway, back to Doctor Who and his eyebrows. Yeah, again, the faces are interesting, to say the least. A very loose one, this. Real top-quality river dance action. Actually, it just looks like his neck's been broken and he's sort of being waved from above by a giant bird that killed him. Anyway, you sit over there, mate, and wait for Ace, your rather excellent companion, to come. Oh, wait, we haven't got that companion. We've got bloody Mel. Right, Mel was played by Bonnie Langford, a dancing lady who just sort of shrieked and ran around a lot. I can't remember what the character was supposed to be. Such an 80s look. I mean, massively 80s shoulder pads and haircut and everything. I think... wasn't she a computer programmer or something else that you would never believe her actually doing? I think so. Also, she looked nothing like this terrifying witch from beyond the stars. Once again, sort of failure of the face and the spine there. Yeah, it's not one of the better characters, Mel. It's one of those characters that felt like it was written by somebody who had never seen a woman. She just sort of screamed and ran around everywhere and occasionally fell over. Anyway, sit over there and... oh, die, apparently. Well, I'm sorry you had to see that, but hey, nobody lives forever. Quickly, villains! I demand villains. How about a Sontaran? Everybody likes the Sontarans because their heads look like potatoes. These have survived into the reboot era with slightly upgraded suits and massively upgraded makeup, but still pretty much the same spud-headed minions they've always been. This one has shorter legs, I believe, yeah, keeping in with... oh, it doesn't really. I always thought it did. Now, the Sontarans were basically very short people, and by very short, we mean massively tall, apparently in Dapol's scale of things, which is slightly odd. They've got the whole fewer fingers thing going on, which is cool. Got a pretty good helmet, but and the neck collar seems... well, I think the neck collar is about right, but the helmet is sort of too tall. It doesn't help when you take it off, and are revealed with this thing. Focus. We need focus on this one. Oh, here we go. Now... just noticed it's got a soul patch. I didn't realise that. Which Sontarans had soul patches? That's ridiculous. Anyway, you'll notice the problem here. The whole collar thing, which would come up to about his nose, starts under the chin, meaning it looks like it's got a massive elongated giraffe neck, which frankly is ridiculous. It looks more like a lipstick than an action figure of a Sontaran. Anyway, here's the face again, because nobody can really get enough of that. Nice try, lads. You've obviously seen the character at least, but... you then sort of described it, I think, to somebody who hadn't seen it, who then made the figure. Yeah, there's never going to be an excuse for the collar of shame on that. I want a really high quality one of this. Hang on, might use that as the thumbnail. Hello, welcome to the video. Seriously, have you got any Optrex? My eyes are killing me. Right, next, we need more villains. We need the worst villain of them all. I'm not talking about the guy who cancelled Doctor Who back in the day. I'm talking about the Master, here portrayed by Roger Delgado, I believe, before Anthony Ainley came in and did his stuff, wearing a sort of very black Chairman Mao type suit. I was remembering wearing gloves, but barehanded here. And this, well, compared to the others, this is like an amazing likeness, frankly. It doesn't look that much like him, but they've got the beard and the hair and that sort of stuff going on, so it is at least recognisably who it's supposed to be. Also, no real major articulation problems. Yeah, they're made of a very sort of brittle-feeling plastic, these, although they don't tend to shatter. They just tend to go very loose, as that's demonstrated. And that's quite good on this, I think, is the pick of the litter, Delgado Master, as figures go. You sit down over there, mate. Have yourself a cup of tea. No, don't do that to Mel. She doesn't like it. Right, next, Cyberman. Incredibly tall and thin Cyberman. I always like the classic Cyberman design, but this is... it's got good detailing, but isn't that reminiscent of it? Let's bring in somebody to... yeah, Cyberman I don't remember being incredibly tall and very, very lanky, but there we go. The actual head isn't that badly done. Unfortunately, they've massively sort of overemphasised the frown type effect of the face. It just means it looks like somebody who looks really appalled by something. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, I'm going home, don't care. Yep, it's got the silkiest face in the universe. But as I say, the detailing is quite nice. Got all the wiring on the back there. Hasn't gone super loose like all the others, but I imagine that's more coincidence than anything else. Got the proper handles on the head and all that stuff. Again, Cybermen sort of survived the reboot into the new era, but look very different and have a different backstory, I believe. These were just aliens who got sort of increasingly replacing their body parts with robot bits until there was almost nothing human left, which is why they look so frickin' miserable. I believe they're the ones who leave YouTube comments. Anyway, you sit over there, mate, and take the weight off your incredibly long legs. The Master survived into the new era as well, thinking about it, although a very, very different character, played by old John Sim. Don't know what they're doing with him, they haven't shown him for years, come to think of it. Well, there's nothing left to show you because unfortunately I don't have a Dalek figure. Of course I've got a bloody Dalek figure. I didn't even get this one recently. This one I think I've got from back in the day. Here he is. Yes, I did get this back in the day actually because it's incredibly dusty. It's probably been sitting on a shelf for 20 years or something. Yep, it's a black Dalek. Does that mean Rebel Dalek, Imperial Dalek, Tesco Value Dalek? I've got no idea. But he looks quite posh. He has his thing going up and down. He's got his sink plunger. He's got his gun. And a pull back and go motor. Still works. Basically, it'll just shoot off the end of a table and break because it's quite brittle, so I won't actually demonstrate that. But extrapolate, external elephant, and all the other things Daleks say while they shriek and run around. You sit over there, mate. It's good fun over there. I heard it from the doctor. And finally, I believe I've shown this one before, but here's OldDavros, the creator of the Daleks. Bored one afternoon, he made the worst space Nazis in history. This one's quite smashed up. He should have a chair that sits on the back and the tiny little microphone goes in front of his mouth. But not anymore, sadly, due to being very brittle, badly made, and this being very old. Again, he's got a pull back and go motor, I suspect, actually. That's probably how it broke originally. And he's only got one arm. There was less and less of him every time. I think eventually he was just a head on a plate. No, that's not a joke. I must say, though, this is by far their best likeness, actually, coming back and looking at it. It's got all the detail, but it's sort of very reminiscent of the actual character, as opposed to the Cyberman, which has a lot of detail but doesn't look quite right. Well done, Dapol. You managed to get the weird half Dalek man thing correct. Pity you didn't do so well for the humans, which you actually see in real life. But let's not worry about that. So there we are. If you can get any of these old Dapol figures, which were actually quite hard to get hold of, they weren't sold in sort of major chains to my knowledge. I only ever saw them actually in a train, a sort of toy train and railway enthusiast shop locally, hence the Dapol thing, I suppose. And that's probably why the BBC ended up not renewing their licence with them, because they could never seem to get them into shops properly. But if you can find them cheap somewhere, I would recommend you buy them so that you can look into their beautiful faces. And, yeah, that will make your weekend and possibly your life. My God, it's like a lineup from a Japanese horror film or something.
Subscribe for more.
What an entertainer.